first panelist for our panel discussion today is Rishikesh Manjrekar. The second generation leader at Amar Builders serves as an executive director of the company. He brings a wealth of knowledge and professional expertise to his role. He holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from California. By staying informed about industry trends and market developments, Mr. Rishikesh positions Amar Builders at the forefront of the real estate industry, enabling the company to seize emerging business opportunities and adapt to the changing market dynamics. We welcome Mr. Rishikesh Manjrekar to come on the stage, please.
Moving on to our next panelist, Dr. Purva Keskar. She is a distinguished ESG strategist, environment impact assessment coordinator, and a prolific educator and author. As the director of VK Environmental, a consultancy she established in 2009, she specializes in ESG strategies, environmental impact assessments, and energy efficient building practices. Through her NGO sustainability initiatives, she advocates for urban sustainability through awareness, training, and research. A big round of applause welcoming Ms. Purva Keskar.
Big round of applause to ma'am. Next, moving on to Mr. Hitendra Uppal, our esteemed panelist for today. He's a seasoned technopreneur with 35 plus years of experience and has made significant strides in the field of computers, telecom, and industrial automation. As a driving force behind Santeliquip, he has transformed the company into one of India's largest designers and manufacturers of data connectivity solutions. We welcome you, Mr. Hitendra, sir.
Our next panelist, Dr. Amit Chaudhary. He needs no introduction. As a internal part of INBAC, he also is a very grounded leader at KPM Engineering Consultants. His passion is designing sustainable infrastructure that positively impacts everyday lives, from India's tallest building to its largest township. His experience embodies values like climate resilience, energy efficiency, making a real difference in urban communities. Please welcome Dr. Amit Chaudhary.
Next, I would like to introduce our esteemed moderator for this panel discussion, Ms. Sandhya. She brings with her more than 2 decades of experience in green building programs, sustainable design strategy and planning, high performance building concepts such as net zero, grid interactive designs, and more. Throughout her career, she has extensively collaborated with public and private and regulatory bodies. We welcome you, Ms. Sandhya.
So we have Rishikesh sir over here as well.
Let's put our hands together for our esteemed panelists.
So it's a power-packed panelist we have now on stage. So leaving on to our moderator, Ms. Sandhya Patil, CHARCHA SATRA. Thank you so much.
So I'm going to start this discussion with some numbers to give a background. The global smart market is projected to grow from 80 million to 330 million by 2030. That means technology is going to be so powerful that we are going to expect so much fold of growth in it. In India itself, we are expecting a growth up to 3 million. And an average construction in any real estate puts about 3 to 5% for technology. Maybe so you will be able to oppose it or agree to it. Artificial intelligence, management systems, all of them are going to be exponentially part of the system of designing of buildings. The energy efficiency market, which is going to go from 1.6 trillion to 3.2 trillion by 2030. So what I'm trying to say is that there's so much of scope for growth, finance, but at the same time, I think it is very important to be cautious that how we make the blueprint and move ahead on this aspect. There's also said that 50% of the buildings which are supposed to be proposed are yet to be built. So that means we are aware there's so much building stock which is yet to be constructed. So we have an opportunity really to channelize this rapid urbanization in a very organized way. So new concepts like net zero, grid interactive, high performance buildings, green buildings which have been there now more than 2 decades in India and seem to be accepted by most of the development, and we need to move to the next stage of it. So how difficult and how good is it for construction industry? And I'm looking forward to learn from all of you and some insights on that. So let me start with you, Mr. Manjrekar. In cities, we know that we are exponentially growing. You from a real estate group, what do you see cities have a challenge in this kind of sector of really looking at high performance buildings or efficient buildings? Let me call them efficient buildings, resource efficient buildings. What do you see as challenges for city planning?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I think INBAC's doing a great job, so thanks for that. Coming to your question about what's the challenge for the city, I think if we take the last week's newspaper and look at Bangalore, what happened, or this monsoon, what happened in Pune also, I think that becomes the biggest challenge. I think the numbers you spoke about, millions and billions of square feet, are getting a lot of population to urban environments, and how to now effectively manage this hyper growth will be the challenge for the city, because the resources are not multiplying. The water is not going to multiply, the roads are not going to double or quadruple, but the population is. So how do you effectively, in your context, how do you then deploy technology to then deal with the same amount of space and effectively manage your resources? I think that will be the biggest challenge going forward for the city's perspective, because from a developer perspective, I think we have barely scratched the India shining story. I think in the next 10 years with respect to real estate or the FDI money that's coming in India is huge. So I think, yes, coming to your point where there is a huge scope, I think the scope is unlimited, but only how we exploit it, or rather how we harness it. I think exploit would be a negative terminology to it. How we harness that growth would be the right way to go about it. I hope that answers, yeah.
Thank you. Purva, you've been in the field of, you're wearing many caps. You've been in green building, you've been an educator, you're now working in the ESG domain, you worked in the EI domain also. So I wanted to know that, high performance building, how much do they align with the ESG goals of a company? How do they align, and what challenges do you think making resource efficient or energy efficient buildings?
Yeah, so thanks for this question. Before I move on to the buildings, I think we need to understand the context in which the buildings are built and the city or the place in which the buildings are built, and what policies can do to the individual buildings as well. We have seen Pune grow exponentially, and with the new UDCPR coming in, high-rise buildings are now the future, in the future. There were instances like smart city taken up by the government, and that has made, inroads into use of technology at the city level. However, I feel that these efforts are not enough, because when we start talking about water, Pune has a lot of water, and when asked to any administrator, they would say that Pune has enough water, and with the kind of population which is it's supposed to accommodate in the future, Whether the water is yet going to be enough is a question. And that is where the 24/7 water supply scheme, which the government kind of announced but didn't see the light of the day because of many problems. Typically, it's related to buildings as well when we start talking about the city level initiative of 24/7, where probably every building would need water meters to understand how every individual unit or the family consumes water, and whether there could be a kind of understanding that if you are able to measure what consuming, then we are able to manage it better. But there was a complete, apathy in terms of individual buildings or even developers or even the consultants to accommodate these simple water meters into buildings. We are talking about high performance buildings, and yet we are not able to go to the grassroots and make a change to this mindset. So in the inaugural, Mr. Pai talked about the mindset, and I think it is very important to understand that making small changes take a very long time, and these small changes should be affected. In terms of high performance building and the challenges when you look at the building sector, I think it's yet not, we have been talking about integrated approach to design, which is just a thing of, just talking. It has not yet come into the, become a general practice. There are a few architects and a few developers who demand and have that kind of a vision and belief that integrated design is going to, solve many problems of the future. But yet it's a long way to go. So I think the first challenge is to have an integrated team sitting on the design board to, design high performance buildings, and then probably look at technology. And technology should not be looked at as a added kind of an component, but should be taken up at the integrated design stage itself. Hope I have been able to answer.
Yeah. Right. I agree with you that, it's very important that mindsets need to be changed. That's like at the grassroots what we really need to work, each of them, that it's a way of living now, developing buildings in the right way and being resource efficient. Mr. Hitendra? You've been working in the field of monitoring and performance verification, if I would summarize this to be, and understanding the digital and the smart data. What do you think is the critical smart technologies any real estate group or any developer should adopt to really look at these high performance buildings? And what would be your way of advice to them be?
Yeah, I think since morning, a lot has been said about the urbanization of the cities and the way the whole infrastructure is going unchecked. It has got its own pitfalls in terms of green gas emissions, in terms of polluting, in terms of inefficient energy devices contributing to all of that. So that is where probably, somebody said that there is so much of scope for technology and improving and making the whole building automation so optimized and efficient. Unfortunately, in the building automation industry, we are working in silos. There is many systems, for example, HVAC, lift controllers, lighting. There are so many automation subsystems in the building automation, but they more or less are working in silos. Another major aspect issue is that most of them were up to now working on proprietary protocols. So if we are not working as a system as a whole, there is very less chance of the whole system being effective and optimized and efficient. I think of late, this trend is catching up, where standardization of protocols is happening, interconnectivity of various subsystems is happening. And this is also probably our forum like INBAC is helping spread this awareness about standardization, and probably the vital certification is again one path ahead of spreading more awareness. So coming back, if you have different systems in different silos, then probably you need some middle devices which are protocol converters, and then they make systems connect to each other. But then it has its own pitfalls. There is latency, there is a cost, all that comes into picture. We heard panels and people talking about emission norms. We spoke about ESG. I know I was reading an article the other day where in US, in spite of so much of modernization and so much of adaptability of building automation systems, the compilation of ESG data is still a big problem for them. So there's so much of scope. Technology definitely can help a lot. Mr. Pai was talking about his experience in chemical. I think today in India, all the polluting industries, so-called polluting industries, like refineries, plants, power plants, aluminum, etc., CPCB has a very strict norms. And there is a technology existing wherein each industry is monitoring this data very effectively and also posting it on the cloud for CPCB to evaluate. So today, even in ESG in US, etc., the data is probably there's some way of capturing the data, but there is no validation. There is no regulation to that. So there is a lot of scope. The technology exists. For example, we have so many IoT gateways, so many sensors today. An HVAC system with so many data points together can collect a lot of valid data, put it on the cloud or maybe local server, and keep learning. See, one of the biggest problems today in BMS automation is that it is static. The whole concept of automation in BMS is absolutely static. It has to slowly move to dynamics. We have lift controllers who are intelligent, who are working. But then there is much more that it can do. HVAC systems are doing the job. But then if you have to move towards sustainability, if you have to make it more efficient, then I think there is much more technology, for example, AI. It has to be adopted. So either at the product-wise or towards the SCADA monitoring system-wise, this needs to upgrade it. And there is a lot of scope for that.
Thank you. Amit, you've been on the consultancy side. You're
Yes.
looking at the MEP aspects of project.
Yes.
Apart from the new buildings, there's a huge lot of building stock, which is an existing building. Now, we always talk about putting in new technologies, making new buildings smart. But how do you really make the existing building, which is going to be living for another 50 years at least, convert them into smart buildings? And as a consultant, incorporating different technologies, especially with HVAC, electrical, lighting, all these aspects, what challenges do you think are at a building level, at a community level, even at a city level? Could you share some experience?
Yes. A very deep question, I would say, because if we see particularly Mumbai region, where the buildings are really tall and community buildings are also there, and similarly in many part of the Dubai, where the buildings were constructed 15-20 years back. Like Mumbai, we have buildings since last 50 years, tall buildings. So they want to be at par with the technology, but due to lack of knowledge, they cannot, simple, the automation of the water transfer or VDPs or automation in any kind of gate system or anything. It is, they are facing a lot of challenges. So I think a lot of OEMs should come up and prepare a plan. As said by sir, it should not be proprietary, but it should be universal protocols where that system can adopt the technology, implement and use. It is a really need of our that those buildings should be at par with the latest technologies. So as a consultant, when such cases come to, I am sure, to any of the consultants, we do some basic surveys that what technology they have and how to improvise them. Some need to be improvised, some need to be refurbished, some need to be added newly. So there is, because technology is changing every hour. So what is digestible to those buildings, should be the solution to that buildings. So that is how we are working for the upliftment of the building to come them to at par with the current technologies.
Great. As a developer, you are cost sensitive. And that's an opinion. That's my opinion. So, how do you, make it financially viable of introducing these technologies? Because, I mean, it's not a hidden secret that when you introduce technologies in a building, there is an apex cost to it. And of course, we have an OPEX which comes and we have an ROI for it. And I'm sure these figures are put very well for a developer. So how do you account to it? What's your perspective on this? Especially when you're looking with a building as usual, when you're constructing a normal building and you want to go a little further than that, how do you look at it?
So I think the right way to answer that was put a question back to you. As a buyer of real estate, are you cost sensitive? That means, will you pay for a smart product if it's cost more? I think if everyone in that question says, in this room says yes, then no developer will mind spending that little bit more. Because obviously, let me put it this way, if you are going to buy 2 cars, right, and one car is going to be a Tesla with, let's say, a premium feature that tells you a lot of more data and obviously is better, then it is going to cost a little better. So I don't think, as long as buyers are equipped with that knowledge, I think no developer will want. So I think the assumption on making developers cost sensitive, see, developers are only reacting to what buyers want to buy, right? I can't build millions of square feet for myself. I'm not, unfortunately, a sheikh in Dubai who can build it for my friends and family. So I'm only reacting. Yes, as a policy, we only deal with premium clientele who recognize this and pay us for it. So we are not. We will put out the best technology because we also understand as a policy at our organization that to set apart yourself and to set apart your projects, you need to enhance it after a brick and mortar with technology. That base technology, I think, like what he rightly said, will evolve every 10 years. So what you put as a backbone needs to be, again, improved every decade, I would say. So I don't think it's a cost thing anymore. I think it will, the cost actually pays itself back. And as buyers are getting more, I would say, mature, they are understanding. And buyers are everywhere, right? I'm saying this in residential real estate, this in commercial real estate, in hotels, in anything. It will cost you more, but it pays itself back. What we see is when we do, so we recently did, I think, one of our smartest building, which is a smaller building, relatively 300,000 square feet, 3 lakh square feet, which IBM is a tenant in that building. We are saying that because of monitoring it well, we are actually reducing maintenance by around 25 paisa per square foot per month, because just by monitoring it. So that investment that we did, we are seeing that it will pay itself back with less than 3 years. So we are investing in it, and I think developers are taking that stand. It's now only the transition, which I don't think is far away, because the adoption of technology is far faster, I think, with every few years that we are going ahead. I think people are okay to completely, I think the elevators have completely changed, the lifts have completely changed, the plumbing systems have completely changed. And clients are okay. In fact, clients now come back seeing something in Dubai or seeing something in Europe and ask for it. Why can't we have that? So if they're willing to spend for it, I'll be more than happy. In fact, I get the credit. It's installed in his building, so why not?
Well said. Yeah, I guess so. If there is demand, why wouldn't you supply? Purva,
I would like to yet, continue with the earlier question posed,
Sure.
because I thought I was talking for a very long time, and I just said that let me just rest here for the time being. And you had asked a question about high performance buildings and ESG, right? And I would like to take that up first.
Sure.
So, when we started our journey in ESG, we realized that there are three aspects to it. One is environment, one is social aspects, and the other is the economic aspects, governance and economics. And I realized that, high performance building is one-stop solution, I would say, to address all these three aspects of ESG. So when we start looking at environment, what are we meaning by environment? That you really take care of your resources, which is really accelerated with the use of technology and smart, components in the building. Taking care of your resources in terms of water, in terms of energy is easily possible if you have technology combined with your design intent. The social aspects, yes, today we understand that indoor air quality, indoor environment quality is going to be the prime, focus, because India is a productive nation right now. The population that we have is going to keep on producing for a window of 30 years, after which it will decline. The age, productive age, population with productive age will decline. And therefore, I feel that the, human dividend that we have is going to be one of the most important aspects if we want our economy to grow in a sustainable way. So here, we need to understand how do we create indoor spaces for people to remain healthy. And this is something which can be really monitored by way of smart and technology, where you start monitoring the indoor air quality, where you start, also integrating it with the air conditioning system that you have, so that you are able to give sustained, good air quality inside the building, because ambient air quality outside is deteriorating. Last year, we had a great problem in Pune, where the air quality index really dropped in the winters, and the developers were fined for not having a good outdoor ambient air quality on their sites. So health is going to be important, and that is where you start looking at light. How do you really design your lighting? How do you really make it more efficient and more healthy? So that happens, with that you can say that the social aspect is touched. And the governance, of course, that by having a technology in place, you are able to really have better governance practices and get a good MIS, management information, that you can work on and strategize your future to a better, economic growth. So high performance buildings are, I think, one-stop solution.
Great, thank you. Mr. Hitain, you're working on the technology communications. So data privacy, is a very important aspect. So could you share some thoughts on that? Because as technology is moving forward, all our data is going on cloud, even if it is building data. Data privacy and security of it is a very important. So can you give some insights on that?
This is one of the very important aspects that is bothering all the automation people. See, this data security conventionally has been the forte of IT. So if you, from donkey years, IT has been doing a lot of data protection, data privacy, data secrecy. So it is only recently, say about 10, 15 years back, when Ethernet as a layer came into the automation, that people wanted to merge IT and building automation and other automation aspects of an industry. And that is when the IT managers said, stop, we will not allow you. How can you penetrate into our system? Because you are not safe. And with this all, we have read so many hacking cases which are happening, live cases, the whole NTPC plant being shut down, the whole industries being shut down, recently Microsoft case. So as in more and more these hackers are getting into the system, the more rugged the devices, the more objection from the IT side to combine the system, and then more responsibility on companies, on the product manufacturers to ensure that whatever data they are sending out to the other system has to be protected. So their own devices, so primarily, they should not allow anybody to hack their devices. And secondly, whatever data they are sending out to another system, for example, we hear a lot about cloud computing. So for example, I'm collecting all the data from, say, lifts or fire safety, and I'm throwing it somewhere, maybe on a cloud or to another server. And in the process, if I am allowing myself to be hacked, then the whole system will be compromised. Or even in the process of the data traveling to some other place, a third party is hacking the data, it is again, whole system is compromised. So I think now this realization has set in. Without the device being intelligent and protecting the data which it is getting and also which is transmitting. So there are many IP suites and many protection suites that are available, which we now have to embed inside the devices. Fortunately, Government of India has now set up a lot of labs where, and it is encouraging people to offer your devices to them, and then they test those devices for its ruggedness to first stop somebody hacking their device and also the data that they are transmitting. So for example, there is a concept of VPN, there is concept of firewall, there is concept of DMZ, right? There is a concept of data diodes, which is all now, actually the whole thing existed in IT. It is now being very easily adopted by the automation industry. And now you would see all the products now coming fully hacking proof ready.
That's wonderful. Amit, you know, we have an architect, we have a landscape designer, we have an MEP consultant, but we have a smart building consultant who guides you on what technologies to use or to integrate in the design process. So we have the help of vendors who are educating us with what kind of smart technologies we should do it. So when you are doing a consultancy work at a design stage, how do you upgrade yourself with the technologies and try to integrate them at the design stage or the concept stage? How do you work to make that?
I will split your question in two parts. One is the consultant for the technologies. Yes, those who are MEP consultant are just trying to digest the technology and trying to deliver it to their clients. This should not be the case. There has to be separate verticals. Most of the consultant has ELV departments where the technology interactions is always going on. They are keep learning and they are delivering. However, as mentioned by sir, that data privacy, secrecy, smart switches, self-understanding equipment, like a lift is there. Somebody hacked that lift and the lift is speeding. In a 100-story building, it is moving at a speed of 10 meters per second, which is very scary. So how to mitigate such things? Because although we are thinking that it is happening in somewhere in US, but no, it is at our doorstep. I'm sure you must be counterparting it. So there has to be absolute industry interaction with the consultants team for the education purpose. That what are the new frameworks are coming up, what are the futuristic technologies. So far also what we are designing is what is available, probably invented 10 years back, 5 years back, which was tested, tried, and then it is implemented. But as the earlier question was also same, that 20 years back there were buildings, so they are having difficult times to cope up with the latest technologies. So this question, so we have to make the buildings future ready. So according to your question, I would say a separate vertical of a consulting background, which will talk about this, because whatever all MEP consultants are doing are more of a mechanized things. However, this data secrecy, this will require the software engineers better to understand, or the electronics engineers who understand the nerve of the technology. So if we have this, then the industry interaction will be proper, your protocols will be understood proper, it will be available to change the technology. For example, currently you are laying the cables for Tata Play, but you can go for the another dish TVs also. So I think you have raised a very good point. This can be the point for my next magazine topic also, theme, I would say. So that is my submission for this.
Thank you. So, you know, before I conclude, I have one question for all of you. How do you make buildings or our cities smart, but future-proof. You know, you have a mobile which comes. After 2 months, the mobile is outdated because you have another technology coming. In the same way, we have buildings, we are adopting technologies. Maybe after a building's life cycle, we consider as 50 years. After 10 years, we have another technology which overcomes the previous technology. So how do you think what we should be doing to make our buildings future-proof in terms of technologies?
I think you hire a very good IT consultant and BMS consultant who will tell you that answer. But I think he should answer that because that's what I would do. I'd hire a very good consultant. But I think you can answer that question probably better than me.
Okay. So currently what is going on in Asiatic countries is we have certain manufacturers, those who are manufacturing some equipments, and we are using them based on our need. However, if we look at currently buzzing construction sector of the world which is KSA. So either you talk about Neom, Trojena, the line, what they are doing, they are identifying even a drop of water, even a unit generated of a power and how it is consumed. So they are using the automation to identify from the source up to the recyclable and coming back to the source, how I am monitoring every energy or every drop of water. So if we have that type, if we have an ecosystem, the answer of earlier answer was also going in this direction. If we have an ecosystem that this is source, consumption, recycle, and how the automation industry is complementing, then it would make more sense even to the developers, because nowadays those who are buying, or even we are buying something, apartment or any properties, what we are looking at how I am reducing my maintenance cost, how much recycling is happening within the property. So if there is a ecosystem of the automation industry which can help to measure in the app or on the screen, then it will be really beneficial.
Great. Purva, would you like to add?
No, my perspective is from the architect side actually, because I don't understand technology as my other speakers. However, I understand that every technology has its lifespan. So like a HVAC chiller would be useful, or rather would be efficient for 20 or 25 years for, giving its efficiency. Similarly, I think the technologies will also have their own lifespans, and as architects or designers of buildings, or maybe like a green building consultant or whoever is trying to look at how to make these buildings future proof, one would like to understand how the building can accommodate these new technologies in a very flexible way, like simple things like giving provisions for these technologies to move. So physical space for accommodating any new technology. So if a duct is being planned to carry certain technologies now, the same duct can yet be used later, right? Some physical distribution system that gets integrated in the design is very much required. In the city, when I was working with Smart City and I was trying to make a model of the, what happens underground, and they have these utility corridors, right? Earlier, there wasn't any idea of a utility corridor in a city. When the telephone lines needed to be put in, they used to dig it, put a telephone line. After 2 months, they needed some other optical, wires to be put in. They again dug the entire thing and put in the optical wires. But there is a change in the way the city is now being looked at. And in the Smart City, they have planned a utility corridor, which means that under the pavement, so in the section of the road under the pavement, there is a big corridor planned, which can then carry n number of services and yet keep the security or resilience of the services, that proximity of which service to the other will create a problem. So they have put in all that, and in fact they had showcased it in one of the exhibitions where in Lucknow, where there was a Smart City exhibition happening. So cities are now taking care of these things, and I think buildings and architects if they know what is going to be the future and predict the future and not to the dot, but conceptually, I think we'll be able to make these provisions.
Well said, Purva. So
Yeah,
would you
I
like
have some opinion on this. See, the technology, as you said, is moving very fast. Fortunately, we are not oblivious to it, right? We know what is coming. For example, if you look at the consumer durables, the PCs moved to very fast. They came to laptop and different products. So all are coexisting. Mobile phones. It's happening in phases, right? So there is an existing earlier technology being followed by a new technology. So people adapt. The end users adapt. So is the case in automation industry also. We know AI is coming. We know digital twins is coming, right? So as an end user, for example, if I talk about the end user perspective, they have to provide for that in terms of resources, in terms of skill sets. I mean, I don't know. Rishikesh just mentioned that he probably would have a consultant hired, but probably a time will come when you will hire a CTO, right? Who will have to tell you, advise you on what is going to happen. So on the same lines, there are companies. If I'm a product manufacturer, right, I will have to provide for that R&D expenses. I will have to provide for those engineers who will think what is coming and how my products can become more smarter, more efficient. So it is all the question of probably somebody able to visualize what is coming and make a decision whether I want to be there or not. Because there is no shortcut. You have to be there. So there are many companies today who have already adopted digital twin. You look at refineries, you look at power plants, the best use cases for digital twins, and they're getting benefited about it. But there is huge amount of investment which they have to provide for. So technology adaptation, yes, but there are paraphernalia which you have to take care of it.
You know, I want to just add here that, more than the architects, I think the technologies would have to take care of these things. Like example, if you are putting in a automated system for lighting, nowadays you have wireless systems, right? So you don't have to really meddle with the physical aspects of things. So the technology has taken care that if the technology wants to serve the future and in the existing buildings or in the existing space, then what would they have to innovate? And they've come out with wireless ones. So you just have these things and don't think of really disturbing the physical aspects of it. Similarly in HVAC, I mean, people came out if you wanted, good looking air conditioning ducts, you have fabric and colorful and all that is now possible. So I think it is the technology which has to think that if they want to really be valid and be accommodated in anything, then they'll have to have an innovative solution for that.
Last question to all of you all. What support do you think we should ask or expect from government or policymakers, the main decision makers at city level or at fraternity level that, performance or resource efficient buildings become a part of it? Your perspective.
In the season's flavor with the election, I think first let me start with the government. I think government, what I would love for the government to do was to implement technology on grassroots level. I think that is something that I personally have seen a huge impact on real estate. When the government has done it in the last 3-4 years, we've seen a lot of approvals and a lot of changes that are happening on the grassroots level and making a huge impact. But if they can deploy more technology at a city level, I think it will be phenomenal. And I think best example in India is in Hyderabad, where I think Hyderabad has done a phenomenal job on city level technology, and that is really improving the life, quality of life of city inhabitants there. As an industry, I think wherever we go, and rather the industry I represent or IGBC, what I think ma'am and we represent, I think the biggest thing would be to for everyone to have sort of that broader image. I think one of the biggest hurdles for something like this is people often don't like change, and unless you're not challenging everything, I think this becomes difficult. So I think having that broader mindset to push everything, because I think one of the examples he said from security point of view, I think right now the largest debate I'm having is with my lift manufacturers, because they just will not give open APIs from the fear of security. They just will not. And this is a debate that's going on for 1 year, and I understand where they're coming from, but then again, the fear of unknown is something that I think takes over people, and I think that is something as an industry I think needs to change. I think these are the two things I would want to sort of leave last food for thought for.
Hey, of late, we have seen making India taking big strides. Unfortunately, if I talk about companies like me who are into developing, designing products, there is still lot of support that the government should do. Make India by itself is not going to move that fast if the basic infrastructure today is not available. And it would start from academics. It is not a government responsibility though, but still, we don't have skill set. And that skill set will come from basic academics. To the point that if I'm making a product, there has to be enough labs that will validate my product. That still does not exist. Then we spoke about certification. So there have to be enough labs that will certify these products. I think as far as the lab is concerned, government is setting up. They have probably already set up 50, 60 labs. So they are moving that in that direction. But I think there's still a lot that needs to be done.
Thank you. Amit?
I'm aligned with sir's opinion that there should be more testing facilities available, so that government can do their bit, and of course the manufacturer designers can do their bit.
I generally feel that, the government should, what drives technology is its capacity and capability to deliver efficiency, high performance, as well as, security. So these other certifications like, green building certifications or energy conservation certifications or standards or benchmarks should be mandated by the government, and that will indirectly kind of push the use of technology, because we understand the limitations of human interface, and that is where I feel the government should move. You all must be knowing that for last 10 or 12 years, we are trying to notify energy conservation building codes in the state of Maharashtra, and it has not happened till date. So I think these codes should now be notified by the government, and government should take their first step. In terms of, buildings and overall, I feel like I resonate with these people when, how do you trust a technology? So there are so many technologies available, and people who don't understand technology and don't have time to spend to select a technology need some ready reference or ready guidelines as to how to choose a technology in any building. And if those guidelines are made by INBAC, which are very no-brainers, not very technical, but which people like us can understand and refer to, I think it will be a good way forward.
Well said. Thank you so much, all of you, for your time. And this has been really insightful, looking at different perspectives from a developer to a consultant. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, esteemed panelists. Sakhi wants to talk. Yeah.
So first of all, I'll thank you. All the people will also thank you. But I want to make a few remarks over it. Ma'am, I have been your fan for many, many years. When I was in my khadi kurta and shabnam bag researching for INBAC. Thank you very much for coming here. And basically, I would love to, collaborate, work together for bringing this energy efficiency, sustainability, decarbonization with the technology. So we bring the technology part, and we should look forward to collaborating more. Sir, you have a very special place in our hearts. You have inaugurated INBAC Pune chapter. And we always read the data about how Pune is growing and the numbers, but hearing those numbers from your self about it was very good. Thank you very much for making it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for our editor, our own, very own editor. Thank you, Sandhya.
Hello. Yeah, I will try and answer your question in phases. One is that if you are trying to adopt a technology, there has to be a felt need. There is nothing called as enjoyment in the technology. You adapt a technology for a specific purpose, right? If you are doing building automation or process automation or factory automation, and then you see what is the best available for me to serve my purpose and what is the intent goal, it matches that. That is point number one. Point number two, I am never for a fast adaptation of technology unless that technology has proven a period of time. So I would rather a company like who's planning to say adapt AI, maybe take up small projects. There is absolutely no need for doing en masse. So learn, because adaptation of technology means that you first need to have skill sets in-house who can evaluate a consultant or who can evaluate a third party who's offering you that technology. And that is over a period of time. So my advice, take small projects and then extrapolate those projects. And the last one, digital twins you spoke about. Yes, it is very heavily cost sensitive and it is not meant for small projects. Digital twins is, I told you, like 1,000 of crores companies a refinery or multi-thousand crores power plant. That is where that investment will actually bear fruit. It is definitely not for small projects. I mean, even in a building automation, probably a complex which probably has a huge township of say maybe 100 huge towers, and probably that is something that can come very closer to a digital twin. Otherwise, no, I don't think that is meant for us. Have I answered your questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So let's, we thank you all the panelists and
Sorry,
we'll
just
move on.
a second. I think sir, you answered the question well. My perspective is not only on the digital twin, it's more of the technology where we can go to the masses. I think you have given me a perspective which is pretty clear that these are only targeting the large ones. And the follow-up questions on the maintenance is that was the first question I asked, where in terms of moving beyond the DLP period, how do we sustain these technology and make sure the customer uses the product rather than being a very expensive capex product?
As I previously mentioned, is that we also have to evolve with the technology. I mean, I can only talk with the perspective of a product designer. So earlier we were doing only serial, then we shifted to Ethernet, then we shifted to fiber, then we shifted to IoT, then we shifted to 4G. So as the technology changes shape, we have to also evolve, and then maybe be with the customer and then help them understand how the technology is going to take them ahead. And so together, it's a journey.
Thank you. If any more questions, please take them offline on one-to-one basis. Yeah. Thank you.
Now, I may now invite Mr. Martin Joseph to do the felicitation for our panelists. Let's give a big round of applause, please. This was a wonderful panel discussion.